The HW Series Windrowers are all new offerings for 2005 and include many innovative new features. This series expands the existing model lineup with the new models HW305, HW305S, HW325, HW345, and HW365. These models replace the HW300, HW320, and HW340. When you complete this TechCom, you should be familiar with the Windrower features, Windrower controls, dealer configurations and electrical testing, header removal, and dealer setup and pre-delivery. You have completed Section 1, Introduction. The HW305, HW305S, and HW325 Windrowers are equipped with a 4.5-liter NEF four-cylinder engine. These engines feature a wastegate turbocharger, mechanical fuel injection, and compliance with Tier 2 emission standards. The HW305S and HW325 also feature air-to-air intercoolers. Windrowers with a four-cylinder engine have a different flotation system than those with a six-cylinder engine. Four-cylinder HW Series Windrowers are equipped with standard hydraulic flotation, which is non-independent. One system controls both the left and the right side of the header. This system uses a single accumulator for float and cushion. A balance valve, located on the hydraulic manifold as part of the flotation system, provides even header raise lower. No hang-on weights are needed. You must balance the header for even lift first, then set flotation pressure. Lift cylinders provide both header lift and flotation. HW345 and HW365 Windrowers are equipped with a 7.5-liter six-cylinder engine. The HW345 has a 20 horsepower increase over the prior HW340. The HW365, at 225 horsepower, is the industry leader for this product. The engine features are the same as the four-cylinder, with the addition of electronic engine throttle controls. The six-cylinder HW Series Windrowers are equipped with independent hydraulic flotation. This type of flotation functions similarly to standard hydraulic flotation. However, with independent hydraulic flotation, there are two switches in the cab, with each switch controlling one side of the header, so different pressures can be set for each side of the head. This eliminates the need for a balance valve. There also are two accumulators to provide float and cushion. Each side works independently of the other side. HW Windrowers are available with two different cab types, depending upon the model. The HW305 and HW305S are equipped with a standard cab. Improvements over the prior series cabs include more efficient right-hand console layout, new park brake switch to set or release the brake, and increased entry deck and door opening area. The HW325, HW345, and HW365 are equipped with a deluxe cab. New features are the same as the standard cab, with the addition of additional controls on the right-hand console. These include the PTO control, parking brake, function controls, adjustable 4-line monitor display, EST port, 12-volt DC power port, second power port and cigarette lighter receptacle, and ignition switch. A new throttle rocker switch replaces the mechanical lever on six-cylinder deluxe machines only. A deluxe cab upgrade package is also available. A new cab suspension system cushions the operator from chassis motion. Comfort Ride 4-point suspension is standard equipment on all deluxe cab units. Rear cab mounts are coil spring and shock mount, with a lateral stabilizer bar between the left-hand and right-hand mounts. Rear axle air spring suspension is an industry-first, patented design that is exclusive to CNH products. This type of rear suspension is optional on the HW325 and HW345, and standard on the HW365. Air spring assemblies with a single fill relief point suspend each axle. Average operating pressure will be between 30 and 40 psi, depending upon header application. You have completed Section 2, Windrower Features. Here's what we've covered. In this section of the TechCom, we'll be looking at the controls on a windrower with a deluxe cab. The multifunction handle, also called the MFH for the hydrostatic drive, allows the operator to select the direction, forward or reverse, and travel speed in either direction. The MFH includes the header raise, header lower, header tilt forward, and header tilt rearward buttons. It may include additional buttons if the machine is equipped with a draper header. The MFH also includes the display toggle and secondary display toggle buttons, which are used with the electronic display here in the right-hand console. The right-hand console also includes the parking brake, header reverser switch, header PTO control, cutter bar disc speed switch, ground speed range switch, header flotation adjustment left and right hand, throttle control, ignition, lighter, 12-volt accessory outlet, and EST connector. It may also contain optional real speed control mode, real speed, windrow shield adjustment, cold start, draper speed, and draper deck switches, if equipped. Let's take a closer look at the windrower electronic display for deluxe models. It has a 4-line 20-character configuration and 3 modes: operating, configuration, and warning. The operating mode displays information concerning the engine, hydraulic system, header, and windrower. There are 13 items that can be monitored. The operator can display any 4 of the 13 operational parameters at one time, depending upon needs and conditions. The configuration mode can only be accessed without the engine running. The key switch must be turned to run. The warning mode menu consists of critical warnings that will shut down the engine and activate warnings that inform the operator of a problem that requires attention. If a problem is detected, it will override whatever is on the display. HW windrowers have a new starting procedure that makes it easier to determine the MFH and steering neutral positions and ensures the brake is set before starting. To start, turn the key switch to the on position, but do not turn to start. The machine controller will check the status of the park brake switch, MFH position, and steering wheel position, and display their status on the electronic display. When all the parameters are properly adjusted, the display will read OK to start. If the neutral start conditions listed previously are met before the key is turned on, the OK to start prompt will come up immediately. You have completed Section 3, Windrower Controls. Here's what we've covered. If you install DIA kits for a customer, you will need to turn the specific kits on in the software. The kits will not be functional if the software is not configured. Kits that require activation are the draper header adapter, engine cold start, header reverser on the 4-cylinder economy model, hydraulic reel drive, and in-cab windrow shield. To enter the dealer setup area to activate a kit, the key switch must be on and the engine not running. Press and hold the toggle buttons on the MFH for about 7 seconds until dealer setup is displayed. You will use these buttons on the MFH to navigate in the dealer setup menu. Use the scroll down button to put the pointer beside DIA options and press Enter on the MFH. Then use the scroll down button to put the cursor beside the DIA option you are turning on. Press the button to turn the option from out to in and press Enter on the MFH to save the change. Then, use the MFH scroll down button to put the cursor beside Exit and press Enter on the MFH to exit the DIA options menu. After returning to the Dealer Setup menu, scroll down until the cursor is at Exit Dealer Setup and press Enter on the MFH. The normal operational display will appear and the DIA setup is complete. You can also run diagnostic tests in the Dealer Setup mode. To do this, press and hold the toggle buttons on the MFH until Dealer Setup is displayed. The display will show the first 4 items in the Setup Diagnostic menu. Use the scroll buttons to page down or up through the menu and find Diagnostic Tests. Then press the Enter button to select it. Use the scroll buttons to page down or up through the Diagnostic Tests menu and press the Enter button to select an option within the Diagnostic Tests menu. You can test inputs and outputs and perform the wiggle test, quick wiggle test, and display test in the Diagnostic Tests menu. Inputs are the signals being supplied to the Windrower electrical system from an electrical component. If a sensor does not appear to be sending a signal to the electrical system, check the Inputs Diagnostic Tests. All inputs are grouped by machine function. Use the scroll buttons to page down or up through the Inputs menu and press the Enter button to select the desired item to test. For each input selected, you will see the entire group of inputs listed by name on the left side of the screen and the system identification listed on the right. For each input tested, you will see either the sensor or switch system identification on the top line, the sensor or switch name on the second line, and the sensor signal or switch value on the third line. To exit the Inputs mode and return to the Diagnostic Tests mode, move the pointer to exit and press the Enter button. Testing outputs is similar to the Inputs menu. Use the scroll buttons to page down or up through the Outputs menu and press the Enter button to select the desired item to test. For each output selected, you will see the entire group of outputs listed by name on the left side of the screen and the system identification listed on the right. You can then use the scroll buttons to move the pointer next to the item you want to test and press Enter to select it. For each output tested, you will generally see the name of the output on the top line, the system identification and status on the second line, and the output state on the third line. Here's the fuel pump motor outputs diagnostic screen. By default, the state will be off. By placing the pointer next to the state and using the toggle button, you can turn it on. This will send a signal to run and activate the fuel pump motor. At this point, you can use a digital multimeter to check for the current and voltage being supplied. This will aid in determining whether faulty wiring or components are the culprit. To exit the Outputs mode and return to the Diagnostic Tests mode, move the pointer to exit and press the Enter button. The wiggle test will look for an active input from a switch. If the switch does not remain in a steady state, the Windrower electrical system will place a value on it and show which switch is causing the problem. This mode will allow the Windrower electrical system to capture and place values on multiple input tests in succession. The quick wiggle test is similar to the wiggle test. However, if the switch does not remain in a steady state, the Windrower electrical system will only place a value on the last input tested. Our last electrical test is the display test. When you select Start Display Test, the display will go through the self-test sequence by displaying a checkerboard dot matrix pattern, turning on and turning off all the dots of the dot matrix. Watch the display for any abnormalities. You have completed Section 4, Dealer Configurations and Electrical Testing. Here's what we've covered. To remove the header, select a level location to store the header. Then raise the header and apply the parking brake. Get out of the cab and engage the header lift lock pins. You must also engage the rear axle lockout pins before removing the header on Windrowers with rear axle suspension. To do this, pull out the retainer pin, engage the lockout pin, and install the retainer pin. The lockout pins are retained on the unit with quick pins and have an easy, no-tools set or release. They aid header removal by preventing excess rear weight load on the caster wheels and easing steering when backing away or moving into headers. For proper inflation when adding or removing pressure from springs, the lockout pin should locate approximately in the middle of the lockout slot when the header is attached. Next, lower the jack stand and pin it in position. Remove the pin in the header lift arm quick latch system and move the lever to the disengaged position. Then, install the pin and disengage the lock pins on both lift arms. Now, disengage the header safety lock pins with the handle and get in the cab. Then, lower the header onto the jack stand. Hold the decrease side of the rocker switches down until the float pressures read 0. The bottom line of the display will flash Header Removal Mode. If the lower arms do not disengage from the header, apply the parking brake, hit the Header Down button, and manually lower the arms. Now, shut off the engine and separate the right hydraulic hoses at the quick disconnects between the header and the windrower. Install the hose end caps and place the hoses on top of the header. Do the same with the electrical harness connector. Remove any hydraulic lines that may be on the left side of the windrower and install the caps on the end of the hoses. Next, disconnect the tilt link and remove the top link from the header by removing the pin. Use the pin to store the tilt cylinder in position. Finally, start the engine. Disengage the parking brake and back the windrower away from the header and raise the lift arms. You have completed Section 5, Header Removal. Here's what we've covered. You must check the items on the delivery report from the HW Operator's Manual prior to delivery of a new windrower. With each new windrower, you will also receive a copy of the windrower test report. At pre-delivery, connect the appropriate gauges into the test ports and verify the readings against the plant test report. Then, keep the report on file. If the windrower has any concerns reported in the future, you can check the current readings against the factory readings to see what has changed. We'll perform some hydraulic and hydrostatic tests in this section of the TechCom. Before testing the hydraulics and hydrostatic drive, warm the hydraulic oil to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll start with hydrostatic drive pressure testing. The hydrostatic drive must remain in neutral during the test. If the hydrostat is under load, the charge pressure will drop to 200 to 210 psi as the wheel drive motor shuttle relief valves open. To test ground drive charge pressure, remove the sender and install the test fitting into charge pressure port E of the hydrostatic pump manifold. Then, connect a 0 to 600 psi gauge to the test fitting. Start the engine and increase speed to high idle. Record the gauge reading, idle the engine, and turn it off. The charge pressure specification is 290 plus or minus 10 psi. Remove the test fitting and install the removed sender. Our next tests are of forward and reverse drive pressures, both right and left. For all 4 tests, you'll need a 0 to 10,000 psi gauge connected to a hydrostatic pump manifold port. This chart shows where to connect the gauge for each test. After the gauge is connected to the correct port, start the engine and increase the RPM to half throttle. The parking brake will remain on for this entire test. Rotate the steering wheel slightly to the right to test right reverse and left forward drive pressure. Rotate the steering wheel slightly to the left to test right forward and left reverse drive pressure. Rotate the steering wheel until the maximum pressure is reached. Finally, return the steering wheel to neutral. Shut off the engine. Record the pressure reading and remove the test gauge. The drive pressure specification is 5,560 psi. Next, we'll perform some hydraulic pressure tests, beginning with header lift pressure. To test header lift pressure on 4-cylinder machines and right header lift pressure on 6-cylinder machines, connect a 0 to 5,000 psi gauge to the P6 test fitting on the header lift valve. Start the engine and increase speed to high idle. Then raise the header and hold the raise switch. Record the pressure on the gauge. The lift pressure specification is 3,400 psi. This test is the same for the left header lift pressure on 6-cylinder machines, except the gauge is connected to the P7 test fitting. To test header drive charge pressure on 6-cylinder machines, remove the plug and install the test fitting into charge pressure port F of the header drive hydrostatic pump. Connect a 0 to 600 psi gauge to the test fitting. Then start the engine and increase speed to high idle. Record the gauge reading, idle the engine and turn it off. Then remove the test fitting and install the removed plug. The charge pressure specification is 290 plus or minus 10 psi. Our final hydraulic tests are of header drive and header reverse pressures. The header wire harness must be connected for this test. For header drive pressure, connect a 0 to 10,000 psi pressure gauge to the header drive female coupler, located under the front of the cab. For header reverse, connect the gauge to the male coupler. Start the engine and increase speed to full throttle. Engage the header drive and record the pressure on the gauge. Then disengage the header drive, idle the engine, and shut it off. The header drive pressure specification is 5,000 psi for 6-cylinder machines and 4,000 psi for 4-cylinder machines. You have completed Section 6, Dealer Setup and Pre-Delivery. Here's what we've covered. If you have completed all the topics on the main menu, you have completed this TechCom. Don't forget to take the Dealer Certified Technician test, located in your TechCom reference manual.